Welcome back, and I hope you are enjoying and having fun with mathematics as we continue to learn additional mathematics. In our previous lesson, we have looked at how we can find the range of a function, and we use the various functions to find the range of a function. My name is Nana Awedu, and you can call me Say Nana. Remember to like this video, share this video, and subscribe to my YouTube channel. And don't forget to click on the notification bell so that you can get all the videos on time. In this lesson, we want to look at how we can find the zeros of a function. We want to understand what the zeros of a function means so that we can use that to be able to find some zeros of functions. So now, what is the zeros of a function? Basically, when we talk about the zeros of a function, we are basically looking at what values of a function makes the function zero, right? So in this case, mostly what we see is x. So we say that the zeros of a function, say p of x, are the values of x, which makes p of x to be equal to 0. Now, so once we've understood this, for instance, if I have a function y to be equal to 2x plus 3, right? Then it means that if I can equate y to be equal to 0, then I can find the zeros of the function, right? So it means that I would have 2x plus 3 to be equal to 0. Then probably once I use algebra, I would have to add minus 3 to both sides of the equation to eliminate the 3. So I have 2x plus 3 minus 3 is equal to minus 3. So I have 2x is equal to minus 3, and I can divide both sides by the coefficient of x, which is 2, and then it means that our x is equal to negative 3 on 2. So I can conclude that negative 3 on 2 is the value of x that makes the function what? A 0, and that constitutes the 0 of the function. So now that we have looked at the zero of a function, let's consider some questions on solving for the zeros of a function. So these are some questions. It says find the zeros of the following function, and the first function is f of x is equal to 6x minus 3 all over x plus 4. The second one is the quadratic function g of x, which is equal to x squared plus x minus 12. And then we also have a function h of x, which is equal to 5x minus 12. Now let's look at how we can find the zeros of these functions. So basically, to find the zeros of this function, we must write out the function and equate the function to 0. So it means with the first one, we have f of x to be equal to 6x minus 3 all over x plus 4. So we can say let f of x be equal to y. Then y should be equal to 0, right? So it means that 6x minus 3 all over x plus 4 is equal to 0. This implies that the denominator will be equal to 0, right? So we will have 6x minus 3 to be equal to 0, right? Which is the numerator part of the question will be equal to 0. So that implies that we will have 6x to be equal to 3, and then we divide both sides by the coefficient of the x, which is 6, right? So once this, if we want to use cross multiply, we'll say this is over 1. Then when we cross multiply, we will have 6x minus 3 is equal to 0, right? So the numerator part of the question should always be equal to 0 when it is in the form of a rational function. So we can divide both sides by the coefficient of the x, and then this goes here 1, this goes here 2. So it means we have our x to be equal to 1 over 2. So therefore, we can conclude that the 0 of the function, right, is 1 over 2, or it is half, right? So that is the 0 of a function. Now let's consider the next question. We are asked to find the 0 of a function, and the function given is a quadratic function, which is g of x to be equal to s squared plus x minus 12, right? So same way, we can equate g of x to be equal to 0. So we'll say g of x to be equal to 0. That implies that s squared plus x minus 12 will be equal to 0. And this is a quadratic function where we can find the values of x. So to find the values of x, we can use factorization method, where we can actually multiply the coefficient of the s squared by the constant c, which is negative 12. So we have 1 multiplying negative 12, which gives us negative 12. Now we want to find the factors of 12. So the factors of 12 will include 1 and 12 itself. We can have 2, we can have 3, we can have 4, and then we can have 6. So this is like a rough work to be able to find them, right? So we want two numbers that we can multiply to give us negative 12, and then we can add to give us the coefficient of the s, which is 1, right? So those two numbers, I believe, will lie within the 3 and the 4 here. But one should be negative, one should be positive. So we can have positive 4 and negative 3. Now when we multiply positive 4 times 3, negative 3, it gives us negative 12. And when we add 4 plus minus 3, it gives us a 1, right? So we put them in place of the x in the function here. And that gives us s squared plus 4x minus 3x minus 12 is equal to 0. Then we can factorize by putting them into two, right, brackets so that we can factorize the two of them. So that implies that here we have x, s plus 4. Then here we have minus 3, s plus 4. Right, is equal to 0. So it means that the factors would include s plus 4 and x minus 3. And that is equal to 0. And that implies that our x plus 4 is equal to 0 and x is equal to 4. Then x minus 3, right? So here x is equal to negative 4, right? X plus 4 is equal to 0. The 4 will move across the equal sign, so it becomes negative, right? So s becomes equal to negative 4, right? And then we will have on the other side x minus 3 is equal to 0. So x becomes equal to 3. So therefore, we know that our x is equal to negative 4 and x is equal to 3. So we can conclude that the zeros of the function, so in this case, there are more than one, so it's zeros. The zeros of the function is negative 4 and 3, right? So this is just a rough work that helps us to be able to go through the process of solving the quadratic equation, right? Now let's consider the final one, which is the third one that was given, which is h of x, right? So we have been given h of x. We are asked to find the zero of the function h of x. So we have h of x to be equal to 5x minus 12, right? So the process is to make h of x to be equal to 0. So it means that we are going to have h of x to be equal to 0. So we have 5x minus 12 is equal to 0. So we have 5x to be equal to 12. We divide both sides by the coefficient of the x, which is 5. This side by 5. And then as simple as getting x to be equal to 12 over 5. So here as well, the zeros, you must always conclude. So we say that the zeros, or the zero of the function is 12 all over 5, right? So this is how we can find the zeros of the function. You equate the function to be equal to 0, as simple as that, and then you can be able to find the zeros of the function, which are values of x, right? So in this lesson, we have looked at how we can find the zeros of a function, where we equate a function to 0, and we are able to find the values of x, and we are able to conclude on the zeros of a function. In our next lesson, we want to look at some different types of functions that would help us to move into the inverse of a function, which are the bijective function, the surjective functions, and injective functions. Remember to like this video, share this video, and subscribe to my YouTube channel. See you soon.